very impulsive. I had meetings all morning, and went to a recovery meeting at 9 a.m., which was really good. It was a book study. And then I met this writer who's going to help me write my live show, which I want to be touring next year. And then on my way home to come film this podcast, I was like, oh, I need to go to a psychic. And I'm not psychic girl. Like, I don't necessarily believe that psychics are real, but that would also be very arrogant of me to assume that they're all not. Like, I don't know. There's no way I could know. And I thought it would be fun. And just something in me was like, psychic, psychic. And for whatever reason, in Sherman Oaks, California, there's a lot of psychics. So I look at my phone, psychics nearby, and a few pop up. I call the first one. She doesn't answer. And then she texts me back. She's busy. And this girl, Christine. And then I call the next one, and this one picks up, and she's like, hello. And I don't know why all psychics sound like they've smoked 3 packs of cigarettes a day, or maybe it's all the incense. I don't know. But she's like, hello. And I'm like, hi, are you available for a reading? She was like, yeah, come on in. Great. So I pull over, I go walk in, and it's just obviously reeks of incense and candles, and I love it. And there's just crystals everywhere. You know, it just looks like a psychic's place. Okay. I sit down, dude, I'm not kidding you. She kind of blows my mind, you guys. I mean, do I think she was after my money? Yeah, of course. But she's a business. You know what I mean? You got to pay your bills. But dude, some of the she was saying was blowing my mind. Like, she was like, you're meant to have a son. Sorry. She goes, you're meant to have a son. Do you have a son? And I said, yeah, I do. And she goes, he's your soulmate, which I thought was a little weird. And I was like, okay. I also have a daughter. She's like, shut the up about your daughter. No one cares. Your son. And this is what blew my mind. She goes, he was diagnosed. And I literally start tearing up. So I was like, there's no way that she knows. And I'm just waiting for her to be like, leukemia, like to get it wrong. And she was like, autism. He was diagnosed with autism, and he understands way more than you think. And he's going to speak to you conversationally within 2 years. And I was like, oh my God. I literally started crying. Now, some of you might go like, she follows you on Instagram. She knows your life. And that is a possibility, okay? But she did tell me, she was like, I don't do social media. I don't watch movies. I don't watch TV. None of that. And she asked me what I did for a living. So I thought that was fucking insane that she like said I was meant to have a son and that my son was diagnosed with autism. That I then asked her, I was like, will he ever be conversational? Like, I'm curious. And she said within 2 years. So I thought that was crazy. And then I was like, and my daughter, she's like, shut up. She hates women. But she also said, she goes, what do you do for a living? I was like, shouldn't you know? She was like, look, I can sense a lot of things, not everything. And I was like, well, why don't you guess? And she was like, you're creative. You're very creative. And I was like, honestly, yeah. Like, thank you. And yeah, like, I'm an artist. And she was like, I see a lot of traveling in your future. A lot of traveling. And I thought that was crazy too, because I've been obsessing around touring, and I've been putting it off for years because I'm so terrified. But I've always thought like, okay, next year when my book comes out, that's when I'm going to do a big tour. And yeah, so she said that, which kind of made me go, cool. I should be traveling next year and going on tour, doing like a book tour live show thing. So she was really adamant about that. She said I had really dark energy around me. And that she believes it was my ex. Okay, so there was that. She also said that I'm going to marry someone who was born in April. Yeah, right. And then what else did she say? Oh my God. So this was the first thing she said that really freaked me out. She goes, Christine, Chris, Christine, Chris, Christine. And I was like, do you know a Christine? Christine's coming to me. And here's what freaks me out is that no, I don't. I don't know a Christine, believe it or not. Okay, real talk. I used to hate doing my makeup. I felt like it never looked natural. It felt way too heavy and it just took too many steps. Then I tried Jones Road Beauty and everything clicked. It's minimalist, it's easy, and it makes me look like me. Jones Road Beauty is a clean, skin-first makeup line from makeup artist Bobbi Brown. The products enhance what you've got instead of covering it up, so you get that effortless, natural, no makeup vibe in under a minute, which is so perfect for me. Like I have no eye makeup on. I just have like just a little bit of foundation, a little bit of blush and lipstick. That's it. Modern day makeup that's clean, strategic, and multifunctional for effortless routines. For a limited time, our listeners are getting free cool gloss on their first purchase when they use code IDIOT at checkout. Just go to jonesroadbeauty.com and use the code IDIOT at your checkout. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. That's jonesroadbeauty.com and use code IDIOT at checkout. Sounds like a common name. I don't know a Christine. But I was like, dude, for whatever reason, the name Christine feels very familiar. Like, wait a minute, did I just have an interaction with a Christine? So then I look at my phone. My last phone call was... You guys, no joke, my last phone call, basically Christine Psychic. It says Christine Psychic here because that was the other psychic that I called. Remember I told you I called the psychic, she picked up, this lady, Christine, and then she was like, yeah, or whatever. She was busy and we were going to find a time. And then, so I called the other one because I wanted to go now. And then the other one that I went to was like, Christine. I had the last person I called on my phone was Christine, this other psychic. So I found that to be very strange. Like, how did you know that? Or why was that name coming up for you? So it did make me think that there was something. She had some sort of medium psychic ability there. Then did she say, I need to do a full cleansing of you tomorrow for $300? You got to come back. I got to clean your chakras out. They're all filthy and dirty. You got to get back here. Let me clean out that throat chakra. I was like, I think you need to clean out your throat chakra. Okay. No, but now I feel like she's listening to me. I was just kidding. Hello? Then she told me there were two people from a past life that were in the room, or not from a past life, sorry, people that I know that have passed that were in the room with us. And that I was just kind of like, I just like felt like she was not being honest. She was like, they're very young. One's a guy, one's a girl, very young. And then I did think maybe it was my cousin, Amanda. She said that one is an addict and my one cousin overdosed in her 30s. And I do think about her all the time. So I was like, okay, that could be the young woman was my cousin. But the young man, I still don't know who that would be. It was just a cool experience, you guys. I'm just saying, like, if you're bored, you should go to your local psychic. And it's just a really fun experience. I don't know, dude. It's fun to believe. Being delusional is fun, and you never know. And that was f***ing crazy how... And she was even like, your son is so funny and creative. He's going to do what you do. And I was like, really? Because I thought my daughter was like the funny, like she just is so, and she's like, shut the f*** up about your daughter. Like I literally tried to like talk about my daughter like 3 times and she just didn't give a shit. And she's like, your son's your soulmate. She was giving boy mom energy for sure. Have you ever thought about marrying your son? Your connection is like none other. And I asked, is he going to be independent? And she said, yes. And my daughter, shut the fuck up. Your daughter can eat a. Oh my God. Yeah, it was pretty cool. It was pretty cool to go to the psychic. I've been to like one or two in my life. This one was the most impressive for sure. Mainly the Christine thing, that was very odd. And then like knowing that my son was diagnosed autistic, you know, that blew my mind. The traveling, I mean, and the creative, like you're creative. It's like, yeah, I live in Los Angeles. And like everyone's creative. Oh, she was like, wood. You're gonna write a lot, 'cause wood. I'm seeing wood and papers made from wood. And I was like, well, that tracks too, bro, because I've written 3 books. So, and then she said, I'm meant to be of service and help a lot of people. So I thought that was cool too. And I'm hoping I'm able to do that. Speaking of that, I wanted to share with you guys that I am 14 years sober. Can you believe it? Everybody thinks I'm high, but actually, in all reality, I'm not. I have 14 years clean, sober, off drugs and alcohol. 14 years. Can you believe that? And I feel so grateful today. I actually feel, just incredibly grateful for my life. I mean, even though it's not perfect and I still have problems and I will always have problems, I actually feel grateful that I get to feel all of the emotions. I get to feel the pain, the anger, the sadness, the excitement, the happiness, the calm, the creativity. I get to feel everything, all of it. I think that's a gift. I actually do. You know, this whole like, I'm happy now. I'm happy now. I'm happy all the time. No, I believe happiness is fleeting. It comes and it goes. But to be able to experience the full range of emotions that we were given is really a beautiful thing. Life is so beautiful and challenging and exciting and frustrating and infuriating and painful and beautiful. And I love it. I love it. I love my life. And that is a gift of sobriety. It really, really is. Today, I am in good health, you know. I have 2 awesome kids who love me, feel safe with me, who I love, and they're healthy. I've got a roof over my head. I've got food in my fridge. I've got good friends. I've got good people in recovery that I can call and reach out to. I've got good relationships with most of my family. I love my job. I've got an amazing team. I'm so grateful for working with people who are lovely and hard workers and smart and believe in me and put up with me. Like I do what I love for a living and make a living doing that. Oh my God. Like what more could I ask for? Truly. And that is a direct gift of me making that decision to get sober 14 years ago today. I really, just to go into a little bit about what it was like for me, I grew up, as many of you know, right outside Chicago in a suburb called Downers Grove, Illinois, which is actually way happier than it sounds. Kind of an idyllic suburb of Chicago. Kids were running around the neighborhood and there were block parties and we knew everyone on the street. And I just remember my childhood being, fun, lots of fun for the most part. But alcoholism, I believe it's a disease, a fatally progressive disease. And it runs in my family. I believe it's genetic. And for people who have alcoholism, the disease of alcoholism, I cannot drink or use safely. Once I take one drink, it releases an obsession of the mind that I need more. And there's an allergy in the body. Just like if you have a peanut allergy, to stay away from peanuts or you'll die or you'll stop breathing or you'll get really sick. So you stay away. Complete abstinence from peanuts is the answer. And for an alcoholic, complete abstinence of alcohol and mind-altering substances is the solution. But for whatever reason, the disease of alcoholism is cunning and baffling. It's tricky, and so a lot of people think they can drink or use normally, and I experienced that a lot. As a child, my dad has alcoholism, and he now has alcoholic-induced dementia. He never really got the sober thing, so I saw a lot of that growing up. Family members. I have a cousin who overdosed and died at 37. She left behind her son, who she loved very much. But for whatever reason, she struggled to maintain her sobriety. She would go through stints of it and then she would relapse and we would talk through the years and she just had a relapse. The sad thing is now it's really dangerous to be an addict. It always was, but especially now with fentanyl. So unfortunately, I believe that whatever she took that day was laced and, she passed. So I kind of, grew up with a lot of alcoholics around me. It was just there. And by the time I think like my first drink was at 12 years old. So like most people, I feel like go on planes to Disney World for vacation. No, we got in the tan minivan and we drove 4 hours to Westfield, Wisconsin to this little horse ranch. And we go there every year. And that was like our big vacation. And I loved it. It was the best ever. And we'd square dance and ride horses. And it was just so fun. It was my whole family and cousins and everything. Anyway, my cousin who actually overdosed and died, she brought vodka when she was like 4 years older. I was 12. So yeah, she was a teenager and she had brought vodka and she like poured her and my sister, just a little bit of vodka in our orange juices. And we had a screwdriver. So my first drink was a screwdriver in Westfield, Wisconsin, just like one shot of vodka and orange juice. That was it. But I was so because I had never had alcohol before. And I thought it was a really good idea to, instead of walking out the front door of our little cabin, to push open the window and jump out the window to get outside. And so my friends and I, who I brought on the vacation, we all had one screwdriver. So we were all wasted. And I was like, guys, we need to go out the window, not out the door. And they were like, yeah. And so I opened the window, leave the window open, and we go jump out the window and we go run to the local town hall to play drunk bingo with a bunch of old people. And it was so much fun. But when we got back, my mom was standing at the door and she looked fucking furious. She was just staring at me looking so angry. And I was like, what? And she looked at me and she just was shaking her head. And then she pointed up at the ceiling. And we looked up and the once white ceiling was now completely black, covered with mosquitoes. Because if you know anything about growing up in the Midwest, it gets very humid on summer days and nights, just summer. It's very humid and you do not leave windows open without a screen. Okay. And I pushed that screen open to get out the window and there were thousands of massive mosquitoes on the ceiling, dude. She was furious. This segment is sponsored by Jones Road Beauty. Real talk, I used to hate doing my makeup and I was just not good at it, okay? I looked like a clown. It felt heavy and it just took way too many steps. Then I tried Jones Road Beauty and everything clicked because it's minimalist, it's easy, and it makes me look like me. Jones Road Beauty is a clean skin-first makeup line from makeup artist Bobbi Brown. The products enhance what you've got instead of covering them up. So you get that effortless, natural, no makeup vibe in under a minute. Their bestseller, Miracle Balm, is a total multitasker. I'm actually obsessed with this. I tap it on my cheeks, on my lips, and I even use it on my lids. It just gives you this beautiful, your skin, but better glow. It basically replaces half of the stuff in my bag. And if you want a little extra evenness, the Just Enough Tinted Moisturizer smooths and tones down redness with lightweight coverage that feels like nothing on your skin. It's quick, it's natural, and you're done. Modern day makeup that's clean, strategic, and multifunctional for effortless routines. And for a limited time, our listeners are getting free cool gloss on their first purchase when they use the code IDIOT at checkout. Just head to jonesroadbeauty.com and use code IDIOT at the checkout. After you purchase, they will ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them our show sent you. That's Jones Road Beauty, JONESROAD beauty.com, and use code IDIOT at checkout. And so she just gave me a shoe and she was like, kill them all. And I was like, yes, ma'am. So we all stand on chairs for like hours and just kill mosquitoes with shoes on our hands, just killing mosquitoes. They're just falling down on us. It was horrible. But I think about that story sometimes because I think like, man, even my very first drink, there were consequences, you know, like clearly I could never drink safely. Yeah. So that, and then, you know, it's a progressive disease. So it progressed. But when you're young, you know, everyone or most kids are out there, you know, drinking on the weekends, smoking weed. And so I found my crew in high school that also liked to do that, drink alcohol and smoke some weed. And then it kind of progressed into like harder stuff. And I would do that stuff occasionally. And then that progressed. So yeah. It's not even that interesting. I guess like, you know, I realized that I couldn't just have one. I really struggled to just have one, take one hit or have one drink. Like I just always struggled once I started to stop. It wasn't even like I did it every day. But anyway, I then moved to Los Angeles when I was 17 years old. I was planning on just doing comedy in Chicago and like, you know, doing Second City and doing comedy in Chicago. And then these two girls who were older than me, who went to high school with me, we did theater together. They came to my high school the day before I graduated and they were like, hey, Laura, we know you want to be an actress. Do you want to come out to LA? We're interning at this production company. Do you want to come stay with us, sleep on the couch, pitch in on rent, and just have fun in this summer? And I was like, yeah, I do. So I just begged my mom for money for a plane ride. I went to LA with like nothing, slept on their flea infested couch. And I kind of never left, you know, I had a little stint in New York and then I came right back and I never really left. And I got an agent at 18. I started booking commercials here and there, but I noticed myself getting distracted. I noticed that, you know, I feel very lucky that I had a purpose. I came here with a purpose because sometimes I wonder like, why me? Why was I so lucky to have that moment of clarity and make the decision to get sober? And I do think part of it, I have a couple theories. I think my mom loved me. I think when you have one parent who loves you, you have a better fighting chance. when you grow up with a lack of love in your life, it's really hard to feel deserving. And so I feel very lucky that my mom loved me. Um, so I think that could have something to do with it. Like I felt I was deserving of a better life because of that love that I was given from my mom. But then also I think it's purpose. And not to say that if you didn't receive love from your parents, you can't get sober. You absolutely can, dude. Um, but I just think it is harder actually from what I've seen the last 14 years. And then I think having purpose, people who walk around super directionless, struggle. They're like, what's the point, dude? Like life is hard. Let me numb. That makes sense. So I think having some sort of purpose helped me to get sober. So basically I started noticing that the addiction started to take over a bit, and I started caring more about, how was I going to get high next, more than I cared about my relationships with my friends or my family or my career. That was always important to me, was making it as a comedian or actor, writer, just a creative person in the comedy space. All of a sudden it just lost precedence. I just stopped caring about it as much. And I was like, that's interesting. I remember I was like on a sitcom, even this Fox sitcom called Till Death. And I played Brad Garrett's daughter. And I remember like showing up to set late with like my skater boyfriend. And like, I remember Brad Garrett even being like, looking at me kind of like, what the fuck, dude? Like you have this big opportunity and you're going to be late because you decided to take mushrooms the night before. Speaking of that, I remember I was on another show called Disaster Date, which was like this hidden camera blind date show on MTV where the guy thinks he's going on a blind date, but really it was me, the actress, making it the worst date possible. And he would be set up by like a friend or family member. So we'd learn all about him. We'd call him the Mark, and we learned all about the Mark, what he hated, what pissed him off, and just kind of lay it on him for the date and make it the worst date possible. And the goal was to get a runner. Like you just wanted him to get up and run. And I had quite a few runners, I'm not going to lie. But I did like 40 episodes of that, which was cool. But I remember one day I had taken mushrooms and I was up all night. So fun though, gotta be honest. And dude, I remember calling my friend at like 6 a.m, like, yo, I've got a table read for this show today with all the producers, director, the cast, everyone. Like I'm on like, and this was my friend who also, I believe, is an addict. She was like, look, this, you'll be fine. You'll be great. And I was like, are you sure I should go? And she was like, yes, you should go. It's a great idea. So I was like, oh, all right. I believe you. So I go to this, production office, MTV place to do this big table read. Dude, I remember I walk into the room. There's like 10 producers, the director, the other actors, the writers, like they're all in this room. And I just walk in. And as I walk in, I'm like, oh, like I'm still, the walls are moving. I'm not okay. And I sit down and it hits me how high I am and how there is no way I'm going to be able to pull this off. And I just look around, and within like 5 seconds, I shoot up and I go, I'm not feeling well. I've got to go. And I just get up and walk out of the room. Okay. And then I'm thinking to myself, that was slick. They just probably think I have like food poisoning or something. I go home. I get a call from one of the producers. She calls me. She goes, Laura. And I was like, yeah. And she was like, I just want to say we are sorry. We are sorry for not giving you more dates. Just please come back and we will give you more dates. You deserve more screen time, and we're sorry, and we know you're upset, and just please come back. So she actually thought I was just being a diva. Like I was mad because I wasn't booked on as many days with as many dates, right, for the show. And then I was just like, I've got to go. And not only did she think I was being a diva, she was going to give me more screen time. So I was like, all right, well, thank you. That means a lot. That means a lot that you're going to give me more dates. Thank you. I appreciate it. And she was like, okay, great. So can you come back in for rehearsal? And I was like, no, I can't. I really do not feel well. No, I cannot, but I will take the more dates. Thank you so much. Goodbye. And she gave me more dates. Like, dude, I got more episodes basically. So the moral of that story is do mushrooms and go to work, because you're going to get a raise. You're going to get perks if you do. So it was like that, dude. And then, I got to say, like, I wasn't a necessarily low bottom. You hear a lot of like, oh, they're on Skid Row, they're homeless. No, that wasn't me. I somehow would still barely hold a job, and when I wasn't working, I'd file for unemployment, and I would always make just enough to like pay rent and eat my food. And so I was functioning. I was what you would call a functioning alcoholic addict. I wasn't even doing it every day. In fact, when I told my friends that I was considering going to Alcoholics Anonymous, they were like, what? They were like, why? You're fine. You're 23. Like, we're all just, what? Nobody really knew. But for me, I knew that I could not control it. That once I took that first drink or drug, the craving and the obsession was released. And I didn't know what was going to happen next. And I would get myself into really dangerous situations. I was dangerously impulsive. I've told you guys this story before, but I think one of the more dangerous things I did was I, went to a bar one day and some random Irish guy asked me if I wanted to go to Mexico with him. And I was just like, yeah, let's do this. And we hopped in my car and we drove to Tijuana, and it was the worst trip of my life. We didn't get along at all. I didn't know this guy. He had terrible taste in music. We were fighting like an old married couple the entire drive there. We stopped over in San Diego on our way to Mexico. We stayed at this little motel and we were fighting. We were just fighting. We had just met. He was the worst. We were not compatible at all. It was terrible. So we got this fight at like 1 a.m, probably drunk. And I was like, F you, I'm going to go take a walk on the beach. And he was like, whatever, I'll be here sleeping. And I was like, oh my God, like, what am I doing? So I go and I take this walk on the beach, and it's 1 a.m, and some frat boy walks up and he's like, hey, do you want to grab a beer with me and my friends in my garage? And I was like, yes, of course I do. What kind of question is that? And so I walk with this fucking guy at 1 a.m. by myself in San Diego on the beach, and we go to his garage, and I sit down, and there's 3 other guys in a circle, and I'm sitting there in this dark, dingy garage with these 4 strange men, and I look around, and all of a sudden I have this little moment of clarity. Oh, this is really dangerous. And as I have that moment of clarity, I get up to go away, to leave the garage. And as I get up to leave, one of the dudes runs up, pushes the garage door to shut it. So now it's going, and the garage door shutting. He's literally trying to shut me in this garage. And I run, my survival instincts kick in. I run so fast, I dip under the garage door, and I start sprinting back to the motel. As I start sprinting down, he takes a glass bottle of beer and chucks it at me, probably trying to hit me in the head. And it misses me, and I just run even faster. And that's what I'm talking about, the dangerous shit that that alcoholics and addicts will get ourselves into, because, that disease tells us that, yeah, the most important thing is getting that next drink or drug or whatever. And so we're willing to put ourselves in these situations that are so unsafe. And And then I remember I like get back to the motel and I bang on the door because I don't have a key and he doesn't answer. And I'm banging, bang, bang, bang. Let me in, let me in. No answer. Bang, bang, bang. Let me in. So it's one of those motels where like the front desk was like across the street. There was like rooms on this side of the street and then there were rooms on that side of the street and that's where they were. So like after like 30 minutes of banging and screaming, there's no way he couldn't have heard me. I think he was like still mad at me and just like locking me out at this point. So I run across the street. I get the front desk guy. I'm like, I'm locked out of my room. Can you please help me? He comes back. He opens the door. I open the door and the dude's just sleeping there. And I was like, what the f-? I think I smacked him too. Anyway, we end up going to Tijuana. Even after that night, I was like, we should probably still go, right? He's like, absolutely. Sounds like a blast. Let's get some guacamole. Oh my God. Oh, and I should probably mention I had a boyfriend. I had a boyfriend at the time. Now, don't judge me. I was 18. I was 18 years old. This boyfriend was 37. At the time, I was like, great guy. Now I'm just like, why were you with an 18-year-old, bro? Like, what? But he did, he tried. He tried to help me. He could see that I was struggling. He could see that I was maybe I was 19. And he could see that I was struggling. He was trying. He was trying his best. He introduced me to yoga, taught me how to cook, all that stuff, and got me my first commercial agent. Like he did care about me. But daddy issues, anyone? Anyway, so I call my then boyfriend and I was like, he was German. I was like, hey. He was like, hello. He's like, where are you, Laura? I'm worried sick. And I was like, I'm in Mexico. And he was like, come home. And I was like, okay, but first guacamole. And then I'll be back. He's like, okay, bye. Yeah, he was German. He was like very German. The only joke he would tell was, you know what they say about German humor, right? And I was like, what? And he's like, it's no laughing matter. So, yeah. Anyway, I wrote about him a lot in my first book. And my first book, by the way, goes in depth on my journey through my and my alcoholism and how I got sober and built a life beyond my wildest dreams. That is essentially my first book, called Idiot, and you can get it anywhere that books are sold. Or I recommend the audiobook because I do all the voices and people in it, and it's just a really fun experience if you haven't read it already. But anyway, so I go back home and he kicks me out. He's like, you need to leave. I was like, what? He's like, get out. You went to Mexico with a random Irish guy. You need to go. Auf Wiedersehen. Or no, is that hi? He would teach me like random German too. Like, du hast sehr klug und stark, which means you're very smart and strong. Or du hast großen, you have a big penis. Those are the only things he would teach me. Anyway, so he kicks me out. I fly back to Downers Grove, Illinois, until I figure out what my next move is in Los Angeles, because I hadn't given up on my dreams. I just got a little derailed. And so I fly back and I meet my godmother, who's like my second mother. She was like my second mom, my dad's sister. And we used to meet at this random Mexican restaurant on Ogden Avenue. And we'd meet there every time I came back. And as growing up as kids, we'd go there. And we sit down and she's like such a character, this woman. She's got wears these big fur coats and chain smokes cigarettes and big hair and like too much Botox and makeup. And she just looked at me and she goes, you look like shit. And I was like, what? And she was like, your hair looks like a rat's nest, Laura. And I was like, oh my God. And she's like, you need help. I can tell. She's like, you're one of us. And then she explained to me that she was also an alcoholic, that it runs in our family, and that she could tell by looking at what a I looked like that I also had it. You know, we can kind of spot each other. And she explained to me how she got sober, and she had gone to rehab, and then she went to a 12-step program. And she explained it to me, and she just told me to go, that, you know, this disease is progressive and it doesn't get better. And the younger you can get it, the better. And I don't know, for whatever reason, I listened and I heard her, and I flew back to LA and I started going to these 12-step meetings. And then I started hearing a lot of like God talk. God, I turned my life and my will over to God and the care of God. And that freaked me the fuck out, dude, because I grew up atheist, we were the only atheists in town. We grew up in this very Catholic neighborhood, and my dad was an atheist. Now he's agnostic, though. He's like, I don't know. Maybe there is God. But at the time growing up, he was atheist and was adamant that we did not go. But he would always say to me, when you're old enough, Laura, he's like, I'm not about to brainwash you at 3 years old. But when you're old enough, if you feel the need for God, you can study the different religions and you can go join one of them if you need to. But I'm not about to brainwash you. And I respect him for that. I really do. But when I heard God over and over, it freaked me out. And then I started learning that this specific 12-step program that I was going to was not a religious program, but a spiritual program, and that you could just believe in a power greater than yourself. It doesn't need to be Sky Daddy. It doesn't need to be, part of an organized religion, but it can just be, you could define God however you want. It doesn't matter. So my power greater than myself for the first 2 years of going to this 12-step program were the rooms of this 12-step program. This 12-step program has helped millions of addicts and alcoholics have a complete psychic change and live a sober, amazing life. So to me, the 12 steps themselves and the people in this program all over the world, that was a power greater than me. And that was enough for me to believe in that. So I guess what I'm saying is, like, if you're listening to this and you're struggling and you're like me and you were freaked out by religious programs, don't be. That's all. It's just, there's even like meetings for agnostics, atheists, all of it. So anyway, they say the only requirement for joining is a desire to stop drinking. That's it. And to be, have an open mind and some willingness. And I had that. I had a desire because I knew I couldn't do it safely. There were just too many dangerously impulsive situations that I would get myself into because that were directly linked to my addiction. And, I remember one day I was going kind of in and out. I was going in and out of these rooms. I would go in, I would hear a meeting, I would hear a speaker, I would hear a lot of things that I connected with and that I identified with. And then I'd leave and I'd buy a bottle of wine and drink when I got home. Like it just, something wasn't clicking. And I remember one of the times I had relapsed, I would get like 10 days and go in and out and in and out. And this was when I was like, 24 or so. And this one woman looked at me. She was the greeter. You all have different commitments at these meetings. And she was the greeter, meaning you just say, hi, how are you to everyone that walks in. She said, hi, how are you? I said, I'm okay. I just had a relapse, but I'm back. And she goes, you know what, Laura, you're not invincible. She goes, you're not too young. She goes, I just buried a blonde, funny, bubbly 23-year-old because she OD'd in her bathtub. Okay, you're not too young. You're not invincible. This disease will take you out and it will kill you. And I was like, good morning to you too. Well, way to put a damper on the day. But she scared the shit out of me. And so I asked her to sponsor me because I was told that the way to get and stay sober was to get a sponsor and to have a sponsor take you through these steps. And so I asked her, I said, hey, like, will you? Because I'm scared of you and I'm going to call you every day because I'm scared of what will happen if I don't. And she was like, sure, no problem. And so she took me through the 12 steps. And I believe that as a result of working these 12 steps, okay, which really are just, I don't want to go into too much detail on what they are, but basically I admitted that I was an alcoholic and that my life was unmanageable. I was able to turn my life to a power greater than myself, basically surrender, accept life on life's terms. I cannot control people, places, things, and situations. I have to surrender and live in, just basically be in acceptance of exactly what's happening in this moment. Okay, I can do that. Fine. I'm not running the show, right? And then I had to become willing to remove my defects of character, my selfishness, self-seeking, whatever my defects were, manipulation, and make that decision to keep my side of the street clean. If I have wronged someone, become willing to make amends to these people. Become willing to let go of my resentments. Am I angry? Resentments are just re-feeling. So they say that resentments are the number one offender for an alcoholic, and that they're the first thing that will take us out. So like a normal person can walk around angry, but an alcoholic, that will eat at us and eventually lead us back to the drink or the drug. So I had to become willing for me to forgive everything and everyone, and let go of my resentments. Make amends. And then there's like a spiritual component too, which was just praying to whatever it is, God, higher power, source, Mother Nature, please keep me sober today. Remove my fear, replace it with faith, and help me serve in whatever way you see fit. That's another thing. They say another principle of this program is they say the untreated alcoholic is selfish and self-seeking to the extreme. It's do, re, mi, me, 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 me. And this program teaches you to be of service, to, at the beginning of your day, say, what can I give today rather than what can I get? And then ironically, you get more. So I started applying these principles, not just in my program, but in all of my affairs. I started applying these principles to my life, and my life got really big and amazing. Meditation is also part of it. They say like praying is talking to God, meditating is listening. And then of course, like the 12th step is just giving it away, like giving away what was so freely given to you. So someone took me through these steps, would take my phone calls every day, put up with my shit. So then I started doing it for other people, sponsoring newcomers. Yeah. And I believe that as a result of working these steps, that I did have I don't know what else to call it other than like a complete psychic change or a spiritual awakening. And for me, that just means like a shift in my perception on how I viewed the world, that I was functioning more from a place of love and faith rather than fear and selfishness. And I also had this great desire to be good and do good. Whereas in my disease, I was selfish, self-seeking. I was lying. I was cheating. I was stealing scar cream from CVS because I was broke, but, just fucking a little head. I mean, I wasn't terrible. I wasn't like punching your grandma in the face, They say some are sicker than others, But I certainly was just always getting into trouble, And yeah, dude, I had a shift. I had a fucking shift. And I just will never forget. When I was working my 6th step and I was becoming willing to get rid of my character defects so I could best be of service in whatever way. This is to other alcoholics. This is in my work. This is to my family. This is to my friends. This is now to my kids. I just remember just feeling this shift, this awakening of like, oh my God, because when I hit bottom, and just to go back for a second, my bottom was not Skid Row. I still had my apartment. But I remember there was a night where I just did not care if I woke up. Like I just didn't care, and the drugs stopped working. They really did stop working. And I say this too, if you're struggling, like if the still worked, I would still be doing them. It stopped working in my life. There was no reason to continue. And I just knew if I don't stop and make a change, I'm either going to die and I'm certainly never going to reach my full potential. And I remember also being in this perpetual state of fear. I was crippled by 1,000 forms of fear, just constantly scared that I was going to lose what I had or not get what I wanted. And I was miserable. Or I was depressed, and I was like, dude, life is meant to be more than this. There's got to be more. So I went, I learned, I had the psychic change, dude, and my life exploded in the best way, you guys. I started walking through my fears rather than drinking and staying stagnant. I remember calling my sponsor early on, right? And saying, oh my God, I'm so nervous to post this video. What if people don't like it? Or even worse, what if they don't care? And she goes, Laura, you're an artist, make art. Okay? Stay in the action and out of the results. I gotta go. And that stuck with me. And I remember going, oh my God. And she goes, Laura, it's selfish not to. If you have a gift, if you have something that you're good at, that you love, that people love when you do, whether you're a baker, makeup artist, author, accountant, whatever, dude, you got this thing you're good at and you're not doing it because you're scared of what people are going to say. That's selfish. So I started viewing my work as an act of service. Okay, let me be a clown because I've always been good at being a clown and making people laugh. And it's selfish of me not to. So let me post this stupid video in the hopes that they will chuckle for like a minute or two in their day. And I started doing that. And I got in the action and out of the results. It didn't matter that the only people commenting were my mom and my mom. That didn't matter because I was just in the action and it was so fun. And I posted a video every single day for a year. And within 6 months, I had my first viral video. And the rest is kind of over. I just kind of blew up from there. But that's all a direct result of my applying the principles of this program. And by the way, there's 12-step programs for literally anything. If there's Al-Anon, obviously, if you have a friend or family member who's an addict, same. There's OA, Overeaters Anonymous, Shopping Anonymous, Sex and Love Addicts Anonymous, Gambling Anonymous. There's probably going to be a TikTok Anonymous. I mean, truly, there's a 12-step program for everyone. So just throwing that out there. But yeah, so my life got really, really big. When I was 59 days sober, my sister convinced me to go to this party. And I've told you guys this, and I write about this in my book. But she convinced me to go to this party. Hold on. And at the time, she would only hang out with British people. Strange, I know. They call it an Anglophile when you are obsessed with like British culture, and I think that's what she was. And so all her friends were British, so she invited me over to her British friends' party, and I was very apprehensive. I didn't want to go. And she was like, Laura, you've been so antisocial since you got sober. Just come and say hi and leave. Fine, whatever. So I walk in and there's this like beautiful garden and I see this man in a suit and he's holding a bottle of water. And I was like, wow. And I just remember I really loved his smile. And I went over to him and I was like, hey, like, where'd you get your water? And he was like, pardon? And I was like, yeah, I just love water. And he was like, I'm sorry? And I was like, yeah, no, it's just like really important to stay hydrated. And then he was like, obviously you don't love water or you would have brought some yourself. And I was like, excuse me, are you accusing me of not liking water? Like, I do like water. It's just a party I thought they would have. So he's like, I'm just saying, if you really love water, you would have brought some yourself. And I was like, whatever, I'm going to go find water. And if you couldn't have already guessed it, that man was Steven, my ex-husband. And at about 30 minutes later, everyone was getting progressively and at the party. And I was like, I got to get out of here. I said goodbye to my sister. And then I was like, I guess I'll say goodbye to the water guy. And I say goodbye. And he said, why are you leaving? And I said, because I'm the only sober person here. And he said, well, I'm sober. And I said, sober? And he said, sober. And he said he was just moved here from England and was wondering if I knew any good meetings. And I said, yes, any recovery meetings. And we met at a meeting the next day. And within 6 months, we were engaged. We had fallen in love. We had connected on so many levels. He was a musician. I was a comedian. We were both sober. We were both vegans. I mean, people hate vegans. And we truly had an amazing time. And I know that the last 3 years have been absolute chaos. And the last year specifically, so horrific. But let me just say this. For many years, our relationship was amazing. And sure, there were problems. Sure, we weren't the best communicators. I was anxious. He was avoidant. Like, we didn't fight well, but we got along really well for many years. We laughed. There was passion. We had so much fun. We made incredible art together, music and comedy. We went to recovery meetings together. We traveled together. We had an exciting, beautiful life. We made 2 incredible children together, 2 amazing kids in every way together. And sobriety connected us, and addiction and relapse truly tore us apart. At the end of the day, and I'm sure there were other things at play too. And who knows if we would have lasted forever or not. I don't know. I can't say because God's will or the universe's will, it is what it is, right? And I just feel an acceptance of it. But in 2022, he had relapsed and I didn't know. I just knew something was off. And that was the beginning of the end, truly, and it's just incredible how much destruction alcoholism and addiction can bring to the addict and to everyone around them, But I don't regret the past, nor wish to shut the door on it. This is my story, and I hope it can help anyone. I was able to stay sober through all of this. They say to not stay sober for your kids, you have to do it for yourself. But I do think I really knew there was just no way I could ever go back out for them. They need me, And I think what got me through these last 3 years of the separation and the abuse and the fear and the uncertainty, all of it, we're really diving into my recovery, the prayer, the meditation, the reaching out, having community, having friends, having a sponsor, having support groups, having people support me through this. I could get through anything. I see people coming into these rooms getting through their parents passing or their children passing, just horrific shit, and they stay sober through it. And I still stand by the fact that this sobriety has given me a life beyond my wildest dreams. I got all the things, I got the 25 million followers and the made millions of dollars and the marriage and the kids and the whatever, the shit. And then I realized that's actually not the answer either. It really isn't. Because in the separation, I pretty much lost all of it, almost. And I'm building back up. But I realize now, the life beyond my wildest dreams, that really is just a state of mind. That is really a quiet mind and a loving heart. That's contentment. That's just being able to live in gratitude whenever possible. Just, focusing on what's going right and being grateful for my life and trusting that I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I do feel like I'm there most of the time. Of course, sometimes I'm in resistance and I'm irritable and I'm discontent and I'm angry and I'm, short-tempered and I'm, fearful and I'm a self-pity and whatever. But I have tools now to get me out of those spaces and to get back into a state of, peace and acceptance They say acceptance is the answer to all of our problems today. That suffering is really when we're resisting the reality of what is. So that's a daily practice for me, practicing acceptance, surrendering to what is, getting grateful for what I have, and living in what's going right rather than what's going wrong, just like choosing to live there. Of course, you have to problem solve. I get it. But I don't know. I just feel so grateful. Like my kids have never seen me drunk or high. I'm not perfect. Trust me. Even last night I yelled, and I don't like doing that. I don't think that's good to do, but dude, like it happens, like I had just given the kids a bath, and Alfie was in there, and I was like, okay, Alfie's good. He's 6, right? So he's in the bath. I'm going to go in the kitchen, just throw away the leftover food, right? Because we're getting ready to go to bed. And right when I walk in the kitchen, I hear splash, 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 but like massive waves. And I'm like, no. When I walk back in, and the entire bathroom is just flooded with water. And I've told him so many times, do we splash, yes or no? And he goes, no, we don't. He knows not to splash. And he just flooded the bathroom. And I was like, no. And I just, I don't know why. Normally I can stay calm, and I just yelled, and I was like, get out, help me clean it. Do we splash, yes or no? And he's like, no, we don't, and Poppy's like, what is going on in here? I'm like, don't come in, you're going to fall. And it's just a fucking ocean on the floor. And we've gotten like 30 towels, and he's crying and I'm crying, and it's just a whole thing. So I guess what I'm saying is it's progress, not perfection. And I was able to repair at the end after he and I cleaned up the mess and make amends for screaming. And, he did feel safe and calm in the end. And I know I've been babbling on forever, but I just feel so grateful. I feel so grateful for 14 years, for the life I've built, for this life that is a direct result of me making the decision to get better, to, take action, and to heal myself, and to make that decision to stay sober and to help others. I don't do it perfectly. It's progress, not perfection. But I can say today, I'm a good mom. I'm a good friend. I'm a good daughter. I'm a good sister. Not perfect, but I'm good. I'm of service. I'm doing what I love for a living. I'm paying my bills. I'm caring for my kids. I'm going to yoga. I'm meditating. I'm praying to a God that I don't know what the hell it is, but I'm praying to that thing, and I just believe that life is such a gift, and I'm so grateful that I get to be present for all of it, even the painful bits. So that's it. I would love to know if you are on your sobriety journey, how are you feeling? Or if that's something that interests you, let me know in the comments, drop a comment, and let's have this conversation. And thank you guys for listening to my story. I mean, this was truly just some of it, that I go into detail. I have like a million more of these stories in my book, Idiot. And some in the second book, Idiots, that I left out that I was like too scared to tell in my first book. I told in my second. So you can get them anywhere books are sold, or listen to the audiobook. And if you want the uncensored version of this share, go to my Patreon. It's patreon.com/Laura Clary. That's patreon.com/Laura Clary, because YouTube is just, they'll flag anything that's not PG. So we have to cut this way down and censor it. So if you want the full uncensored version of this story, go to my Patreon and subscribe. It also helps support me and keeps us going. If you subscribe, we really appreciate your support there. Okay. All right. I'm going to shut up now and pick up my children from school.